Would like to introduce to you Murali Gandhirajan, who is the Healthcare CTO for Snowflake, and he's going to talk to us about data platforms and how to unlock healthcare data's full potential with modern data and AI platforms. Murali, come on up and join me on the stage. Thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible now? All right. What a fantastic 2 sessions, and what a great way to kick off a conference like this. Already a lot of great points have already surfaced up. My name is Murali Gandhirajan. I'm Global Healthcare CTO at Snowflake. This is my second year being on stage here, and thank you so much for having me two consecutive years in a row. Last year, I spoke about how you can eliminate data silos to truly drive value from a patient data and service of patients from a context of better health outcomes and experience. Lot has changed from a technology standpoint. Technology is really moving at a jet speed. And today, I would like to talk about how those modern data and AI technology trends are truly helping us to build a holistic patient profile and thereby unlocking the true potential of healthcare data that helps to drive patient health outcomes at the end of the day. Healthcare organizations are focused on many critical business imperatives that ranges from driving patient health outcomes to driving population health and the associated benefits that comes out of identifying and stratifying patient populations. Organizations are focused on driving operational efficiency that helps to reduce cost of care. And patient experience and care team experience is of utmost importance. We have already seen Avery from the Hospital for Sick Children talking about how care is going to be getting more and more personalized. I really love the term, genetic code to the postal code. What a great way to say that it is absolutely critical for us to bring the disparate, multimodal data of the patients together if we truly want to approach precision care. We are seeing care settings shifting from hospital-based to more of home health-based to virtual care. We are seeing medical devices being deployed for care. We are seeing devices being used at a personal level that is starting to capture a lot of health information. The kind of health app within an Apple phone is now starting to capture tons of information. We are seeing latest AI technologies being applied to drive operational efficiencies. And AI is going to play a significant role in transforming patient experience as well as care team experience. And there is one thing that is central and pivotal to this entire theme. That is data. And tapping into that data is so critical. There is no AI strategy without data strategy. So a modern data platform with all the bells and whistles that you need to build that holistic patient view is super critical. And organizations are tapping into AI technology to truly address those business imperatives. That is the latest trend. We live in an exciting technology era. There are two things that happened in the last couple of years. One is the commoditization of very complex computing infrastructure, the rise of GPUs. Today, we have cloud vendors making this very highly complex computing clusters available, and you can pay for what you use only. The second thing is the rise of AI, the so-called generative AI / large language models / large vision models. They are capable of processing large chunks of natural language, which is natural language processing, NLP. It can generate content, which is natural language generation. It can reason, and it can come up with suggestive actions. In essence, AI is being evolved as agents that can perform a task. So what does this mean for healthcare? The way I put it is, AI can assist, AI can augment, or AI can accelerate. Assist in terms of reducing the administrative burden, the documentation burden. We talked about AI Scrub in the very first session. I was super excited to hear that. Ambient listening technologies is really going to help reduce the operational burdens of the physicians. We are going to see AI being applied to generate discharge summaries, which will then be reviewed by clinicians before it's loaded into the systems. We are going to see AI playing a co-pilot to clinicians, coming up with suggestions and nudges that are truly going to help the physicians determine what is the right path, right care path for the patient. And I'm super excited about what AI can do for research. What used to take hours to prune through a published medical journal, get to the medical journal of interest for a given research, and read through that is now a prompt away. We are now having technologies that can vectorize and create embeddings out of those large collection of, let's say, PubMed articles, having ability to ask a natural language question to get to the publication of interest, and then ask the large language model to summarize it for you. It's just a prompt away, right? What used to take hours is now few minutes. And think of the productivity gains that researchers will gain because of a technology like this. That's essentially how AI is bound to disrupt, and it is already starting to disrupt healthcare. Now, with that being said, data silos is essentially what we deal with, right? The panel before beautifully talked about when you really have data, right? The multimodal health data of a patient. We deal with genetic data, we deal with medical imaging data, we deal with audio-video transcripts, we deal with the patient survey data often coming in the form of XMLs and other formats. We deal with data that is captured in an unstructured format within HRCR and electronic medical record systems. And all of this data exists in silos primarily because we did not have the computing infrastructure to process variety of data in a single place. So we had PACS systems, we had genomic sequencing systems, and so on and so forth. But today, with a modern data and AI platform, you now have ability to process all of that data in a single place and build that holistic patient view that we were talking about. So what defines a modern data platform? To me, there are 5 key tenets. The number 1 is simplicity. Are you stitching multiple services? Or are you going to multiple computing infrastructures to get access to that multimodal data? Or are you able to do all of them in a single data platform? The second important capability is scalability. We all know handling genomic data requires really, really high computing infrastructure because we are really talking about billions of records when we talk about those genetic variants in a given human genome. You really need a high-performance compute that can scale for that type of a genomic process and then scale down when you don't need it. So that scalability in terms of computing is number 2. Number 3 is performance. No matter what type of data format that you look at, whether you are looking at medical images or unstructured clinical nodes, or you're talking about structured data captured in an EHR data, the ability of that computing engine to process and draw out the inferences is number 3. And number 4 is reliability. You do not want to be in the business of setting up, configuring, installing, managing the underlying computing infrastructure. You really want to be in the business of extracting data of the patient, insights from the patient's data that truly helps solve the critical needs of the patient. So a a good modern or a good and modern data platform really takes care of managing the underlying infrastructure so you can focus on delivering value for the patients. And the modern data platform should enable collaboration. Healthcare, in my opinion, is a network of entities. We have hospitals working with hospitals, hospitals working with research entities. We have research entities and hospitals working with pharmas. That's really how complicated network healthcare is. So having ability to collaborate on the data is extremely important. And when you talk about AI, the biggest problem so far is AI was looked at as an experimentation. AI was accessible to people who had access to those high-performance computing clusters. AI was a thing for experts only. But that is no longer the case. In the last 2 years, AI field has progressed so much so that we now have platforms that provides a fully abstracted AI capabilities that you can access within seconds. You don't have to do any sort of infrastructure setup because that infrastructure is fully managed by those modern data and AI platforms. And more importantly, AI is beyond experimentation. We are seeing healthcare organizations implement AI in production grade. Why? Because the underlying computing infrastructures and the technology is already commoditized, right? So we are going to see the next year and the next couple of years is going to be really, really interesting because these are going to be the years where AI is going to get deployed across the enterprise at an enterprise grade level. And all the contents and the points that surfaced up in the panel before, we are going to do that with right level of guardrails in place. There are a lot of organizations working towards setting up the governance, setting up the policies around what does ethical and unbiased use of AI means, right? It's a topic in itself. We can speak about it for an hour or two, just the governance topic alone. But given that, the potential is immense, right? And Snowflake is a modern data and AI platform. Just for those of you who don't know what Snowflake is, Snowflake is a software as a service that comes with rich set of tools, features, capabilities that helps you to ingest, process, and organize multimodal health data of patients, bring AI capabilities on top of the data, and surface up insights that are truly then integrated into the research or the clinical workflows from a healthcare context. It's a fully managed platform, so you don't have to manage the underlying infrastructure. It operates on all three clouds, Azure, GCP, and AWS. And all of those deployments of Snowflake are interconnected. What that means is if there are multiple organizations wanting to come together from a healthcare context, they can collaborate using the data sitting within Snowflake platform in a secure, governed way, because you then can set up access controls on who has access to what and who you are opening up that data set to. Do you already have the data use agreements in place with them or not? Now, with that being said, we talked about again, I want to go back to Avery's point of genetic code to the postal code. A strong collaborating environment. For example, if we talk about building a whole patient profile, the bottom left that you see is usually the data that you have within your hospital. It's the patient demographic, it's the patient's encounter data, it's the clinical data, so on and so forth. The second layer is, what if you have outsourced the genetic data sequencing of the patients to some other entity? Because you don't have the capability within your own hospital system, you have outsourced it. Now you have that data really sitting in another healthcare entity with whom you do business with. They are your trading partner. You now have capability to exchange that data in the form of Snowflake data shares. Then let's talk about the postal code and the social determinants of health. That data is actually a is being curated and made available by a lot of entities, including government entities. And that is that global public data on that outer layer. You need to bring data across all of those channels to truly build that holistic patient profile. And that is the power of such a modern data and AI platform. That helps bridge the gap. That helps bring disparate data together in a fully managed platform so you can focus on truly building that holistic patient profile. So, what does multimodal health data mean? Right? 1.5 hours into the conference, we already have talked about it 5 times. Right? The ability to handle genomic data, to medical imaging data, to audio-video transcripts that we generate, to the unstructured clinical notes, discharge summaries, to patient surveys, to the interoperability data coming in JSON or any other XML formats. Bringing all of them together is how we handle multimodal health data. So, how do we simplify handling multimodal health data? Let's take unstructured healthcare document in the form of discharge summaries, medical transcripts, clinical notes. This is the data that we deal with day in, day out. We can now apply AI capabilities that does OCR to text, because we still deal with fax documents in a healthcare context. You can do OCR to text, all within a single SQL statement. You can extract the contents from that unstructured data, put it into a data within, let's say, a technology like Snowflake. And what you are essentially doing now is you have captured the information in the unstructured document, used generative AI or large language model to summarize the content or extract ICD codes, extract social determinants of health information, and putting it side by side to patients' clinical encounter data. This is how you fill the gap between unstructured data and the structured data. And here is another exciting capability. On the left that you see a pathology report, and we are using AI to ask a natural language question to extract critical information from that pathology report. We are asking, what is the collection date? Who was the pathologist on this report? What was the facility that did this? What was the date on that? What was the specimen used? All of this are critical information from a pathology report that, when captured using an AI, it's a single SQL statement that you will run across hundreds of thousands of pathology reports that you have, and then you create an extracted information in the form of a table. This is AI used in data engineering principles. So if you are part of data engineering teams within a hospital system, to me, this is a groundbreaking transformation in applying AI to data engineering principles. So when you talk about servicing up your clinical teams, you are then going to say, don't worry about going through the pathology report. I have already done that job for you. I have already extracted that information, and it's all going to be available and seamlessly integrated side by side to your data that you see in a dashboard. Boom. That's the value proposition, right? Now, let's talk about multimodal medical images. I have to rush because I only have 7 more minutes. I really wanted to give some time for the questions as well. Handling medical images, right? In this case, we have used machine learning model that is trained to unpack the contents of let's say a histopathology image, create a vector embeddings of that image, and really created 100,000 histopathology images as a repository. We are then using it to search for similar histopathology images. Let's say you get a pathology image, and you truly want to search across your image database and get the images that closely match, because you are trying to do a research on a particular cancer type, or you are trying to really get to, as part of the digital pathology workflow, you are really trying to get to another pathology report that is similar to this. This is a breakthrough capability from a technology standpoint that helps you to simplify what you do. These type of computing capabilities did not exist before. These type of capabilities did not exist before. That's why I said we live in a very exciting technology era. We talked about how data is being consumed. The dashboards, the scorecards, will continue to play a key role in how data is consumed by the end users or the business users. Clinicians, non-clinicians, hospital operations folks. But what has significantly changed now is the evolution of chatbot type interfaces completely driven by large language models. What you are seeing here is talk to your data app. If you have data sitting in your tables, and if you truly want to ask a natural language question to summarize and get that information sitting in a table, this is the type of capabilities that are now unlocked. You can really ask a question, how many patients were admitted in the emergency room between this time to this time? The app will be able to hit the table, apply the filter conditions, and get a count of patients that are admitted into the emergency room. This type of chat experience is going to transform the care team experience that I was talking about. Now, with that being said, this is one of our customers, Bayer. They have implemented such a similar app. They have deployed it for their internal users, more for the people who are involved in the commercial sales of their drugs. That provides ability for them to ask a question and get to understand where they are in their sales process. And here is an entity that I'm sure every one of you is well aware of. Alberta Health Services has come up with the AI scribing technology. And it's right now being in a proof of concept phase with certain emergency departments. Again, the key concept is that there is an app. The app listens to the patient and the physician conversation. The app does three things, right? It listens and it records the conversation, and it converts that speech to text, and then it integrates that content into a clinical workflow, which is then being reviewed by clinicians before it is saved as an encounter. This is the type of innovations that we are seeing, right? So and another case study from our side is, again, this goes back to the social determinants of health that we were talking. New York Health and Hospital is one of the public funded hospitals on the state side. They are able to use such a modern data and AI platform and serve up the vulnerable populations in the New York region, right? This is all about cutting down silos, applying AI where possible, with the guardrails and with the right level of governance, and truly helping to solve the needs of the patient. Now, I want to open it up for questions. I know I have 3-4 minutes of time, but I really want to leave you with this thought, right? How many of you have seen the movie Minority Report that got released in 2002? So it's great. I really love that movie because it's so futuristic, right? Just for those of you who has not seen that movie, the movie happens in 2054, year 2054, where a pre-crime unit actually predicts that a crime is about to happen and prevents that crime from happening and apprehends the person who is about to commit a crime, right? I got so fascinated, looking at, seeing that movie. I always draw parallel to our line of business. I think we are at an interesting inflection point when it comes to technology, that we will soon be able to understand and flag patients who are about to go into a catastrophic health event. I think, to me, that is a groundbreaking thing that technology can do, right? If we can predict that a particular patient who does not have any symptoms today is about to go into a potential cardiac arrest in the near future, is a huge life-saving event. I think we have technology, we have the capability, we just have to fill the people and process gap. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Questions in the room for Murali? Yes.
Great talk. Just a question on the geography here in terms of Canada, Ontario, as compared to, let's say, the US, obviously different health systems.
Yep.
With respect to the data infrastructure that currently exists in this province, for example, in my short time in healthcare, I've seen really like a big gap between, or chasm, if you will, between sort of like an on-prem legacy architecture versus cloud. And that's probably the biggest for Snowflake, especially to overcome. How do you see that sort of evolving in this province specifically in terms of the market here? Because we heard some of the panelists, more and more organizations are looking to leverage obviously data, but in order to do so, going to cloud seems like the most logical and obviously the most efficient. However, it comes with, it's fraught with risk, right? With respect to how do you govern it, how do you lock it down, it's PHI, PI, those sort of decisions. So just curious to understand from your perspective, how is that being factored in from a vendor like yourself, and how do you guys attack that problem in terms of where the marketplace is and where it should be going, but there's obviously a reticence for that because of some of those risks.
Yeah, so great question, by the way. Two key things that we approach this from. Number one is we make sure that the platform has the compliance controls in place. For example, HIPAA compliance on the state side, right? And the number two is the security and the governance controls that is being built within the platform. Whether you're talking about data access controls or you're talking about the security in terms of how we are encrypting data at rest, how we are encrypting data in motion, that's essentially the first step to talk about it. But one of the important things is if there is a hospital system and the hospital system is fully on-prem, even embracing that, hey, I really want to go to cloud, there is a precursor and a conversation that requires before that, right? So we tightly partner with AWS, Microsoft, as well as GCP. So we basically go to the customer and talk about how secure that you can set it up, right? And then the second thing is we are seeing a lot of healthcare entities already, the healthcare entities who operate in highly regulated industries, right? Already onto platforms like Snowflake and the cloud. The cloud adoption is already caught up, right? And I always joke about this because healthcare was the last industry to jump into the bandwagon when it comes to cloud. But with the AI, it's the other way around. We are actually leading the pack, along with financial services and retail, right? So that AI curve is catching up. So to me, the demand for AI in healthcare is also going to help close the gap in terms of jumping onto the cloud bandwagon, right?
Great. We stole a minute from you at the beginning, so if there's one last question that anybody wants to squeeze in. Yep.
Thank you very much. You used the word predictability.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, just a learner, I came to know that some hospitals in the United States can predict that in this season, in this time, this type of patient is going to come in the ambulance from this area. Then I'm learning that predictability in the ICU using certain data, there's predictability that which patient prognosis is good or bad. So I'm wondering whether you can shed more light on that factor of prediction. Thank you.
Yeah, see, at the end of the day, it's about having access to multiple data points about the patient, so your predictions are close to accuracy, right? See, you can predict with a 60% confidence. You can predict with a 90% confidence. In healthcare, you want to be on the 90% side before you even put this for a clinical use, right? The way I look at AI use cases is 3 different categories: operational use cases, research use cases, and clinical use cases. Clinical use cases, you have to be super confident that the predictability is going to work. You got to pilot it, you got to make sure that it works for all scenarios, there is no bias, all the governance, and so on and so forth. But the operational use cases and research use cases is something that you can attempt, because most of the operational use cases are you do something using AI, but at the end of the day, you'll throw some humans in loop, then it becomes a productivity play because you are helping somebody to do something for them, and then that person is only reviewing it. For example, if somebody is doing a chart chases and reviewing the codes, right, the diagnosis codes, AI can help surface up the codes, but the coder can then review rather than the coder going to 10 different places and looking to collate all the codes, for example, right? So predictability has a significance in terms of what type of use cases you are trying to use it for, right? With that being said, thank you for having me here.
Great, thank you, Murali. A big round of applause.
Thank you.
Excellent. So it's still just the middle of the morning. We've already covered an incredible amount of content. We are now at our speed networking portion of the day.